an issue when the criticism seems like it's personal or like from a bad place. And since I know so many things that are going on behind the scenes, what other people don't.
Experienced him going through episodes before we were married, and I was like, man, somebody got to help this guy. It was really, really bad. It's really sad because you're seeing someone you don't know.
I know allegedly Gucci's wife, while he was locked up, slept with Yo Gotti, right? Allegedly. That's why he cussed out Angela Yee out, if y'all notice. By the way, Gucci, I love you so much. Like, don't ever diss me. I love you, bro. But
I have a system. I take his apps off his phone. First thing I do, I delete Instagram. I delete everything. Even if I got to change his password, I'm changing it because I don't need the public to know he's having an episode.
I seen it with my own eyes when she was wearing that blue lipstick and mohawk and all that. When she came over there when Gucci was in jail and she came to pick him up from the house.
I apologize to Ross, Drake, Nicki. Like, all them people accepting my apology, they just don't know. It's like a weight off my shoulders because I had been like, because I was wrong. Like,
something dark is brewing in Atlanta's power couple scene, and Nicki Minaj just lit the match. What started as a few cryptic tweets has exploded into a full-blown war between Nicki and Gucci Mane's wife, Keyshia Ka'Oir, a woman some fans now claim is literally controlling Gucci's every move. From deleted Instagram accounts to whispers of mental health manipulation and spiritual domination, Nicki's accusations have peeled back a layer of celebrity perfection and revealed something much more sinister. A marriage built on control, not love. And when you connect the dots between Gucci's own confessions, old Waka Flocka warnings, and Nicki's rage-fueled posts, you start to realize this isn't just gossip. It's a story about who really runs Atlanta's most untouchable rapper. The internet didn't even have time to blink before Nicki Minaj detonated what fans are now calling the most chaotic tweet storm of the year. No warning, no teaser, just fire. Out of nowhere, the queen of rap went on X and accused Gucci Mane's wife, Keyshia Ka'Oir, of something that had even her most loyal Barbz clutching their phones. She claimed Keyshia was keeping Gucci sedated. The word itself, sedated, hit like a punch. Not in love, not calm, not balanced, but sedated. That one word turned what sounded like marital devotion into something much darker. Fans instantly started scrolling, screen grabbing, and refreshing as Nicki fired off post after post, dragging industry names into what looked less like a rant and more like a coded message to the music world. Nicki's fingers were moving faster than TMZ could type. Gucci's wife been trying to be me for years, she tweeted, dying for the spotlight. She's there to keep him sedated. But she didn't stop there. She called out Charlemagne directly, labeling him Charlemagne the Fraud, and accusing him of using iHeartRadio to push what she called disgusting ploys against innocent families. She threw Jay-Z's name in the mix, too, calling him a business associate behind these alleged industry setups. It was like Nicki had taken a flamethrower to every hidden alliance in hip-hop, and fans were watching her burn it all in real time. Then came the tweet that sent shivers through the timeline. Y'all really don't understand who I am. Bookmark this tweet. LAPD, where's the evidence of my home being swatted with a toddler inside for times? The buck stops here, baby. Let's play. Within minutes, those words have been shared thousands of times. Nobody knew exactly what Nicki was talking about, but everyone could feel it. This wasn't just shade, it was war. And the way she typed, the way she named names, it didn't sound like a woman venting. It sounded like a woman ready to expose something she's been holding for years. Social media went in a meltdown mode. Half the internet thought Nicki had finally lost it, while the other half swore she was finally telling the truth the industry didn't want out. Sedated, one fan posted, "What does she know that we don't?" Others started pulling up old clips of Gucci Mane from his interviews, piecing together moments when his energy seemed off, too calm, too rehearsed, like someone else was running the show. Within an hour, hashtags like hashtag sedated Gucci and hashtag the buck stops here were trending across X, and bloggers couldn't type fast enough to keep up. But the most chilling part wasn't even the accusations. It was the tone. Nicki wasn't laughing. She wasn't trolling. She was daring them. Every sentence felt like a countdown to something explosive, like she had screenshots, names, maybe even footage. Fans said it felt like Nicki was pulling back the curtain on something bigger than beef. Something orchestrated. A machine of control, manipulation, and silence. And right at the center of it stood one woman, Keyshia Ka'Oir, the wife everyone thought had saved Gucci, but who Nicki was now accusing of drugging his peace of mind for power. By the time the tweets stopped, the damage was already done. Charlemagne's mentions were in flames. iHeartRadio's comment section turned into a conspiracy forum. And Keyshia? Silent. No clap back. No statement. Not even a like or a story post. Just silence. Which, in the world of Nicki Minaj, said everything. Because when the queen of rap says, the buck stops here, she's not just threatening to expose someone. She's promising to end them publicly. And that's when the question started circulating across every gossip page and fan forum. What if Nicki's not crazy? What if she's right? It all seemed innocent at first. Just another day on The Breakfast Club. Gucci Mane and Keyshia Ka'Oir sat side by side, looking like the picture of luxury and loyalty. Matching designer fits, diamond smiles, and that air of we made it. But then, in the middle of the interview, Keyshia said something that changed everything. Charlemagne had asked how she manages to keep Gucci grounded after his battles with addiction and mental health. Her answer? I have a system. She said it like it was a badge of honor. When I see him having an episode, she explained calmly, I delete Instagram, I delete Twitter, I control everything at home. I change his passwords, take the apps off his phone, whatever it takes. The public doesn't need to see him like that. The studio went quiet for a moment. Charlemagne nodded, but the audience at home heard something else entirely. Some heard love. Others heard control. The idea that a grown man, a hip-hop legend, was being digitally muzzled by his wife didn't sit right. And that soundbite, that one sentence, would be the spark that lit Nicki Minaj's entire Twitter inferno. Hours later, Nicki's fingers were flying. Her posts weren't random jabs. They read like a manifesto, like she'd been holding it in for years and finally broke. First came the bombshell. Gucci's wife been trying to be me for years. Been dying for the spotlight for years. She's there to keep Gucci sedated. Then she aimed straight for Charlemagne. Charlemagne the fraud. Jay-Z's business associate. Using iHeartRadio for these disgusting ploys against innocent families. It didn't sound like gossip. It sounded like evidence. Every line hit like a coded threat. She wasn't just accusing Keyshia of manipulation. She was tying Charlemagne and even Jay-Z into some kind of media conspiracy. He was around Wendy before her life went to hell. She wrote, "The expletive stops here, baby." Bookmark this tweet. LAPD, where's the evidence of my home being swatted with a toddler inside? Gun strong. Republic Records, stand up for me any effing day now. It was raw, angry, and unfiltered. But buried in the rage was something deeper. A woman claiming she was being watched, silenced, and gaslit by the same machine she'd helped build. And when Nicki typed, "Let's play," it didn't sound like a dare. It sounded like a declaration of war. Within minutes, social media split into two armies. Team Nicki said she was speaking truth to power, exposing a system that rewards silence and punishes independence. Team Keyshia said Nicki was spiraling again, desperate for headlines. But then the internet did what it does best. It started investigating. Gossip blogs began pulling old clips, resurfacing Waka Flocka interviews where he hinted that Gucci ain't been the same since she came around. Tasha K poured gasoline on the fire with a post that read, "Word on the curb is Gucci wanted to smash Nicki, but she wasn't having it." So Keyshia slid in, fixed his teeth, put him on meds, and spent his bag to morph into Nicki. Now he's high off tranquilizers, thinking he married his dream girl. The comment sections went nuclear. One fan wrote, "Waka been told us Keyshia was the handler," while another said, "Nicki just said what everyone's been whispering for years." The timeline became a digital crime scene. Every tweet, every lyric, every red carpet photo turned into evidence. People replayed clips of Gucci talking about his episodes, analyzing his tone, his eyes, his pauses. And then someone dug up the quote from Gucci's own memoir, the one that changed everything. He admitted that Keyshia once had him committed to a facility. He called it love. He said she saved his life. But the internet heard one word louder than the rest: kidnapped. Gucci said she'd rounded up his 6 bodyguards, thrown him into a car, and taken him to a hospital against his will. "She saved me," he said in his book. But when you replay that Breakfast Club clip, her saying she deletes his accounts, changes his passwords, manages his medication, it suddenly didn't sound like saving. It sounded like possession. Then came the eerie layer no one could ignore. In that same interview, Keyshia proudly mentioned she controls his meds. She said she knows when an episode is coming, and she steps in before it happens. Fans started connecting that to Nicki's word, sedated. Suddenly, Nicki's tweet didn't sound so far-fetched. It sounded like she was calling out a woman who might literally be drugging her husband into compliance. Even Waka Flocka's old words started to resurface. Years ago, when the Brick Squad empire fell apart, he'd tweeted something cryptic. "Atlanta ain't the same no more. Y'all let the handlers take over." Nobody thought much of it back then, but now, after Nicki's rant, fans were dissecting it like prophecy. By this point, the story had taken a life of its own. Twitter threads turned into mini documentaries. TikTok sleuths stitched Gucci's old interviews next to Keyshia's "I delete his Instagram" quote. People started saying she'd programmed Gucci, that his calm demeanor, his picture-perfect discipline, even his new smile, were all signs of someone under control. One viral tweet read, "Gucci ain't Gucci no more. He's Keyshia's mannequin." But just when the narrative seemed to reach its peak, another theory hit the feed. One that pulled the story out of mental control and into something even messier, emotional leverage. Old cheating rumors started resurfacing. Back when Gucci was locked up, whispers circulated that Keyshia had been linked to Yo Gotti, a rumor even DJ academics had mentioned on his stream. Some said she'd been spotted leaving a club with Rick Ross in a Rolls Royce while Gucci was still behind bars. Rick Ross's ex, Tia Kemp, even claimed, "I seen it with my own eyes. She was wearing that blue lipstick, that mohawk. Picked him up like she owned him." Keyshia denied it immediately, but by then, the damage was done. The internet had already woven a story. A woman who cheated her way up, cleaned up her image, and took control of the man who once ruled Atlanta. And when people looked closer, they started saying the quiet part out loud. Maybe this perfect couple image was a smokescreen. Maybe all the love posts and couple goals photos were part of keeping Gucci in check. Because when you line it all up, the deleted accounts, the controlled meds, the isolation from his old crew, the rumored infidelity, it paints a chilling picture. Keyshia wasn't just a supportive wife. She was the gatekeeper, the one who controlled what the world saw, what Gucci said, and when he said it. And now, with Nicki blowing the whistle, an old industry ghost crawling back into the light. That perfect empire Keyshia built around Gucci suddenly looks less like a love story and more like a gilded cage. It started with the tweets, but by the end of the week, the internet had turned into a forensic lab. People weren't just analyzing Nicki's words anymore. They were studying Keyshia Ka'Oir's entire aesthetic. Side-by-side photos flooded X and TikTok. Keyshia in a glossy pink latex catsuit, blonde wig slicked into curls, thick lashes, and pouty Barbie pink lips. Right beside her, Nicki Minaj, circa Pink Friday, in almost the exact same look. Same poses, same angles, same fantasy pop queen energy. Fans started asking the question out loud. Was Keyshia Ka'Oir trying to become Nicki Minaj? It wasn't just coincidence. When Keyshia launched her Ka'Oir Cosmetics line, her ad campaigns looked eerily familiar. Bubblegum tones, candy-colored wigs, and the same high gloss, doll-like filters Nicki had made iconic a decade earlier. Her slogans, "Be bold," "Be you," "Be unstoppable," echoed Nicki's "Be your own Barbie" mantra from her early tour promos. Even her music video cameos and red carpet looks began to mirror Nicki's early branding. The mix of boss energy and hyper-feminine fantasy that Nicki herself turned into a global identity. To Nicki's supporters, this wasn't flattery. It was theft. A slow, methodical hijacking of her image by a woman who had once been connected to her old circle through Gucci and Waka. One viral comment summed it up perfectly. Keyshia doesn't just want Nicki's look, she wants Nicki's power. The throne, the narrative, and the man who once wanted her. But Nicki's tweets weren't about vanity. They were about warning. Because when she accused Keyshia of keeping Gucci sedated, it wasn't just about pills or social media passwords. It was about energy, about control. And when fans started lining up those copycat visuals, they realized Nicki might have been hinting at something much deeper. The idea that Keyshia wasn't just imitating her style, she was imitating her dominance. Becoming the new queen by using the very blueprint Nicki had written, but bending it into manipulation. And that's when the conversation shifted from gossip to conspiracy. Nicki's handler's comment, something people dismissed as delusion at first, suddenly took on new weight. In her thread, she'd tied Charlemagne, Jay-Z, and iHeartRadio together in what she called disgusting ploys against innocent families. On the surface, it sounded paranoid. But then people remembered Nicki had said almost the same thing years ago about the industry blackballing her after she spoke out against unfair contracts and fake alliances. And she wasn't the first. Wendy Williams, once Hollywood's most fearless talk show host, had started naming names too. Jay-Z, Diddy, the executives behind the machine. And right after that, her life unraveled in public. Addiction, divorce, hospitalization, guardianship. To Nicki's fans, that wasn't coincidence. It was punishment. So when Nicki said he was around Wendy before her life went to hell, people connected the dots. What if she wasn't just ranting? What if she was warning that Keyshia, Charlemagne, and even Jay-Z were part of that same system? A web of control that uses people's personal lives as leverage to keep them quiet. In that light, Keyshia's system didn't look like love. It looked like training, conditioning a superstar to behave, to obey, to stay marketable. Suddenly, Nicki didn't look crazy. She looked like the whistleblower in a sea of silence. But the silence was the loudest part of all. Because while social media burned, Gucci Mane stayed quiet. Not a post, not a tweet, not a single word defending his wife or addressing Nicki's accusations. And that's what started to scare people. Fans began asking, who's really speaking when Gucci speaks now? Him or her? His interviews had a robotic calm. His captions sounded copy-pasted. Even his public apologies, like the one to Nicki, Drake, and Ross years ago, started to feel scripted. It's like the real Gucci's gone, one fan commented. And what's left is the version she allows. Meanwhile, Keyshia wasn't hiding. She was posting her usual glam shots, her workouts, her cars. And then, like a spark in a gasoline, she uploaded a video vibing to Cardi B. The timing couldn't have been more deliberate. Everyone knew Nicki and Cardi's history. So when Keyshia smiled into the camera and mouthed Cardi's lyrics right after Nicki's meltdown, fans took it as a declaration of war. It was shade, but it was strategic shade, the kind that says I'm untouchable. And yet, the more she smiled online, the more people whispered offline. Because silence can be power, but it can also be proof. And Gucci's silence, his absence, became the story. Now, the entire hip-hop world is holding its breath. What started as petty drama has turned into a power struggle that's starting to look eerily familiar. Just like Wendy, just like others before her, Nicki might have stepped into something much bigger. The unspoken network of control that runs deep in entertainment. And as the dust settles, one truth keeps echoing through every timeline. This was never about jealousy. It was about ownership, about who gets to control the story and who gets to speak. Because if Nicki's right, if the sedation isn't metaphorical, if there really is a pattern of handlers and silencing behind the scenes, then Gucci Mane and Keyshia Ka'Oir might not just be another couple in crisis. They might be the poster children for how the industry keeps its stars docile, obedient, and profitable. The story ends where it began, with a woman refusing to stay silent. Nicki said, "The buck stops here," and whether that means exposure, revenge, or something more dangerous, nobody knows. But one thing's clear, this isn't over. Because this isn't just about Nicki versus Keyshia. It's about every celebrity whose piece has been purchased, every artist whose freedom was turned into a brand, and every star who looks perfect online while living under invisible control. So when Nicki says, "The buck stops here," she's not talking about gossip. She's talking about survival. And if she's really got more receipts, more footage, more calls, more names, then Atlanta's most glamorous couple might be standing on borrowed time. Because behind the diamond smiles, the filters, and the matching cars, something isn't adding up. And when Nicki Minaj decides to tell the truth, the real truth, the whole industry might just collapse under the weight of its own secrets.